It's Baby and Mary, we know you have been waiting, so here's another podcast about movies. Burn after watching.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Burn After Watching podcast.
Hello.
Hello. We are back with a new episode, and this week we are talking about the new Alex Garland film,
Civil War.
But before, find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere, Amazon Podcasts, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. Like, subscribe, comment, join us.
Thank you.
Let's just jump right into Annihilation, which is really hard to pronounce as a French person. Annihilation.
Yeah.
From 2018. This is his follow-up to Ex Machina, which is great. Love that film.
Mm-hmm.
Annihilation, I don't know why this one kind of slipped by for me. I didn't hear a lot about it when it came out.
That's 2018?
Yeah.
So not that, only 5 years ago.
Yeah, and
6.
It's interesting now to talk about this film because Alex Garland, who started as a writer he wrote 28 Days or 28 Years Later, I believe, or maybe both, has said that he's done with directing for now. He's not as in love with directing, and he wants to go back to writing film. So it's interesting now, and he only has 5 films. 5? 4. You have Ex Machina, you have Annihilation, you have Men, and you have Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's talk about Annihilation. What was your first impression?
It's weird, man.
Yes.
It's weird. It is so weird. But it's weirdly interesting.
Yes.
It's weird because when the movie starts,
Yeah.
so we hear about her husband,
Yes.
who's been gone on a mission for a year. He comes back home, and then she decides to go to the place.
But she thinks he's dead, right? For a year, she thinks he's dead.
But then he shows.
And he shows up.
He shows up, and then she decides to go where he went on a mission.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a wall of oil, colorful oil.
It's a shimmer. They call it a shimmer.
Yeah.
It's at the beginning we see something fall from space and land in a lighthouse. And it's been growing. Mm-hmm. And I guess this is kind of hidden from the people. At least it seems like the way they present it is that people don't know about it. But they've been sending people into this shimmer, this growing kind of space in a forest.
And his husband is the only one who came back.
Yeah, that's true.
So when she goes at first, like the first hour of the movie, I was like, okay.
I didn't love it too.
Me neither. I was like, and then there's this giant crocodile, and then there's like the special flowers, and they kind of get to understand that there's like a DNA thing going on.
I think anything before they enter the shimmer, for me, I almost didn't need it. I feel like you could have started the film of them entering the shimmer without any context.
But
and you learn as they learn about what's happening in there.
But it was essential that there was the first part, because right when she goes in the lighthouse at the very ending and she finds her husband's tape, which is so fucked up.
Yeah,
it was essential.
Fucked up part.
It was essential. But to me, though, the ending tied the whole movie together for me to really like this movie.
So I guess my point is that obviously the current story would not work if you start with a shimmer.
Right.
But I think you could have
maybe shorten.
It just feels like the first like part of her and it just didn't feel that interesting. And I feel like the dialogue of this film were really cheesy.
Yeah.
I didn't love the dialogue.
I agree.
I felt like sometimes it was really cliche.
Yeah.
And the first part, like the first 45 minutes until they enter the shimmer, it feels like it's very cliche too. You have like the CIA director that doesn't want to say anything, and they don't want to tell her what happened to her husband, what happened with him, why was he sent in there. And then there's like this. I do love that it's a group of women that goes in there, and that our four main character, like our heroes are 4. Is it 4 or 5? 5 women.
4.
You have like the director,
Natalie, and 2 girls.
Yeah.
No, sorry, 5. Sorry,
five,
there are 4 sitting at the table plus the director.
Yeah, and it's like this band of like broken people, right? Yeah. They all have, spoiler alert, by the way, we're gonna just spoil everything we talk about right now. So if you haven't seen them and you want to keep all the twist and turn for yourself, I would not watch this episode.
Not now.
But
after.
so you have the CIA director has cancer. You have the other woman who's harmed herself. There's another woman that has lost a child to leukemia. So it's a bunch of broken people, which is why they don't care about going in. I guess that's the premise of like why they would just be like, yep, sign me up to like go into this thing and most likely die.
And I also like the fact that Natalie Portman at first is super conflicted about whether or not she should reveal to the group that her husband is the man who's everybody's talking about that came out alive.
Survived,
So they enter the shimmer, and then it gets a little bit more interesting to me.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
It's
the
really
adventure starts. Slowly we get to understand what is happening in the shimmer.
Which is like this mutation,
genetic
evolution, like rapid.
It's so hard to understand.
Hyper evolution.
What?
Evolution.
Hyper
Evolution and mutation of cells.
Of
and
DNA.
Yeah.
And humans' cells are... it's so hard to explain.
Every cell are going to be affected by this shimmer, and it's getting mutated, and it starts to basically merge.
Yeah.
And basically like put things together that they shouldn't be together. So plants start to have human DNA in them, and they start building flower grow shaped like humans.
Yeah.
And stuff like this. Like.
Yeah, and it's funny because at a certain moment, Natalie Portman analyzes her own blood and sees that it's in her.
Yes.
So
that's it. Like she understands what's happening, right? It's a mutation thing. It technically wouldn't stop until it covered the earth.
One part that I really enjoyed is the fact that from the get-go, we see her being interrogated.
Yeah, that's cool.
So we know that because throughout the whole movie, the girls that she's with die. Slowly die, yeah.
All of them get taken out, yeah.
Yeah, and we know as a viewer that she's still alive because she's being interrogated. It's thrilling to know what's happening. And then when she goes into that lighthouse, what I saw there is another level of creativity.
It's really cool.
It's really cool.
The sound. So what I didn't like also before the lighthouse, it's the music choices. It's all like folky guitar.
Yeah.
Kind of like little ballad. Mm-hmm. And once they go into the lighthouse and this kind of other being, and it gets very ethereal and it gets very abstract, it goes like all.
Yeah.
It's like all.
Thank you for this
synth bass, weird, abstract kind of soundtrack.
Yeah.
So
and visually as well.
It's weird too. Yeah. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And okay, so let's talk about this. But when she goes in the lighthouse, there's this burnt men, like bones, sitting in the corner.
Yeah.
Clearly, there's been an explosion. He
Yeah.
died there. Yeah. And there's a video player, and she presses play, and that's the moment when she realizes that her husband has been cloned.
Yeah.
And the men she met coming back home before she goes in is not her husband.
Well, is it not? It's a clone.
To me, so it's not her husband.
It's not the original copy, but it's a copy. Yeah. It's still her husband.
But to me, that moment, I was like, oh my God.
That was
really cool.
And then it kind of put you in context of like when she goes down into the lighthouse and this ethereal being start mimicking her.
Yeah. But before she finds the director who's there, and then she starts like bleeding from the eye and the blood goes into...
Yeah, and it's like a cloning process almost.
Exactly.
It's so basically... It's hard to explain what it is. And I think the ending, it's funny. For us, it's like the difference maker about is it a good film or not a good film. I think a lot of people, it would swing the other way. Where like this is taking too far.
Oh.
Because it's very abstract.
Well, is it though?
Well, I mean, it's not explained at all. A being is being created and they start mimicking Natalie Portman, try to like almost learn how to be her. Mm-hmm. And then the face and like the way she looks start coming in. And then she end up like burning it, like just...
Yeah, so she gives a grenade to her clone and then escapes. And then they cut back to the interrogation. No, they cut back. Okay.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, but she also goes to see her clone husband.
Oh, yeah.
And she
In
knows
the
at
hospital.
that moment that she says, you're not my husband. Yeah.
So I like all of that. I think my issues is the first 30 minutes and all the whole cheating thing was not necessary. So Natalie Portman, I guess, is cheating with her husband, but it's hard to know.
Cheating with her husband?
Cheating on her husband.
Yeah.
But it's hard to know, does she cheat on him? Yeah, she cheated on him before he leave for the mission, which she thinks he died from.
Yep.
She doesn't cheat on him while she thinks he's dead.
No.
Yeah, it's before because he's all cold the day that he's about to leave. And it's because he knows. Like, this whole part, I feel like, was unnecessary. Like, completely.
But I think, though, it explains why she accepts to go to the Shimmer.
But it's not because she wanted to, like, find out what happened to her husband. It has nothing to do with the cheating. I guess it might explain why his husband is weird when he comes back.
Yeah.
To her, it was weird when he left.
But I think it's important, though, to kind of have their backstory and a little bit of like skin on the bone to... on the bone?
Yeah. Meat on the bone. Skin on the meat. Meat on the
La
skin.
chair autour de l'os.
But I just feel like, I guess it felt forced in a bit. And it felt like, oh, we need something to be... We need a conflict between the two cheating. It felt like a bit almost thrown in.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking that this is a director that started as a writer, you would think... And my biggest issue is all the writing. The dialogue, some of those story points, the first half hour.
Yeah. There's one specific moment where they're like playing in bed together. Like,
Yeah.
literally
I didn't
not having sex. But
Pre-sex.
that to me was, so cheesy. I was like, oh my God.
To me, it felt true because...
I rolled my eyes.
But the thing is, like, I think when you do something as a couple, you think it's cute. Other people will think it's cheesy.
Yeah, that's true.
So, like, I feel like it's cheesy because we're looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was us, it would be like, oh, it's so cute. We're being so cute.
I liked this movie. I thought it was super creative and interesting way to talk about aliens in another way and cloning and just
I like that.
overall, like the nature versus the human and the DNA and who's what, the hierarchy in
Nature.
and how humans put themselves on the top of the pyramid above nature, but in this movie they're kind of brought back to the wilderness.
And in multiple way, right? Like the nature of human, like the way that we are conceived with like cells and everything is above us because we are made of it. So we can't be above nature itself, technically.
Exactly.
But also there's a direct, contrast that is made where actual nature, like flowers and animals, are also taking over human.
Especially that girl when flowers are literally growing on her arms. And that's kind of the way she dies, flowers and nature.
Well, she just walk off screen.
Oh, yeah. She's to me, she's just blending in and becoming.
Yeah, I think she was
one
like,
with
I'm done with trying to like fight it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to go sit down somewhere and
because
become a flower.
Because this other girl becomes a bear. Or a wolf.
Oh, yeah. So,
when that moment when we hear her talking through the bear.
So some kind of bear thing pick up one of the women and then she dies. So it kills her.
Yeah.
And Natalie Portman find her body.
Yeah.
But I guess like there's this explanation that while she was dying, there was a mutation thing that happened, and some of her last moment are now part of this animal, which come back a bit later. Yeah. And then her death scream when this bear thing is growling, you can hear
save me.
Yeah, or scream through it. And you can even see a human skull built in the side of the face. Of that, and that's
really interesting.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
That moment, the bear thing. The CGI is a bit dated, but I think like obviously like it's a small budget and it worked.
Yeah, there's really something important about nature and fusion between animals, plants, and yeah. I still can't explain it totally. Like, I'm still computing this movie, and
you get some hints about the cloning too, because at some point we see two deer
yeah.
working in perfect unison next to each other, right? And it's hard to know if they are seeing reality, because so there's also jumps in time, right?
Yeah, because of the videotape they found from the husband.
But even them, they wake up at the beginning from their tent, and they like, there's about 3 days of food that is just gone. But all of them feel like we only been like here a couple of hours.
Yeah. The notion of time is kind of messed up.
So it's hard to know, are they seeing things that are not there? Is it true? There's the tape from the husband that cuts a man open, and his guts are moving like a snake inside of him.
Yeah.
So like, again...
and that's when they discover, that the group of women discover that the husband is Natalie Portman's husband, and then they kind of gang up against her.
But I never understand, why was that a big deal? Like, why...
Well, is it because he was the one who cut open the guy? So he's kind of a murderer?
I guess, but even before that, when the CIA director is like, you shouldn't tell them who your husband is, before they even go into the shimmer. Mm-hmm. And I understand, like, he's the one that got out, and that's her reason to go in.
Yeah.
But like, I don't understand why they would be mad about that information, or like, what would it change anything to them?
Well, because he's the only one who survived, then maybe he would have killed the other guys with who he was with.
Yeah.
You know, like, how did he get out? Why did everybody die?
Because they do say at the beginning, like, there's two options: either something in there killed them, or they went crazy and killed each other.
Yeah. And then when they find the videotape, then it kind of confirms that he killed.
Yeah. I didn't like, though, what's the name of the, is it Gina? That kind of go a bit crazy, and she turned on the other, and she tied him up.
Yeah. But that's when the bearer comes in.
Yeah, but like, it felt like our reason for like switching was like a bit rush. Like, I didn't feel like it was earned, that like automatically now she's like, I'm mad at you guys, and I'm gonna tie you to a chair and, you know, like threaten to kill you.
Well,
it feels out of nowhere.
To me, it was justified, because the fact that she didn't say it was her husband, and he's the only one who ever came out of the shimmer, because the shimmer seems to be there for how many? Did she ever say that it was there for a year or something?
Well, it has to be at least a year, because her husband disappeared.
Oh,
but
for
even
12
more
months.
than that. Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, it was justified that she was really mad that she didn't say that she didn't tell about her husband being the only one who ever survived the shimmer. I can understand, like, in that situation where everybody's kind of losing their minds as well. And
when the girl get killed by the big bear, I think she's also like, where were you guys? What was happening? And she didn't get to see the body too. So
exactly.
I think, like, she also feel like maybe suspicious. It's a tough
Alex Garland is...
Garland.
Garland. He's French now. There's a lot going in that head. It's impressive. It's a bit messy.
It's a bit messy. And
but the 20 last minutes, to me,
that's cool.
It was like the first time I saw The Matrix.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what?
It's high concept in a way that it's like, you need to take a step back and really think about it, because the film is giving you enough, but not the answer, which is great, I think.
Yeah. I would definitely, I will save this movie.
I will save it too.
It's really cool, and I would give it a 3.5.
I think that's also what I gave it, 3.5 out of 5. It's a save, but I do think that I would want to rewatch it.
Me too.
I didn't love the way some of the things inside the shimmer look, the aesthetic, and the like whole flower and white crocodile. It's a bit too like Wonderland.
Yeah.
Like the bear aesthetic.
Yeah, it was getting like more and more. I understand what you mean, because at first it feels like a little bit Alice in Wonderland fantasy, and then it gets darker and darker.
But even like the crystal trees around the lighthouse, I was
didn't
like,
mind that.
ugh, like it feels a bit like.
Okay.
It feels like trying too hard for things to be different. Like, oh, the tree will be made of crystals, and
I didn't mind
and the plant will grow everywhere.
I understand.
3.5 save.
Same.
Perfect. Awesome. Let's go into the next one. The new Alex Garland film, Civil War, the biggest A24 film Biggest budget,
50 million.
50 plus advertising or whatever, probably like about $100 million
Yeah.
that it cost them to make this film. It's just released this weekend.
Yeah.
It's getting,
A lot of attention.
yes,
It's the best box office, right?
it's projected to be
Okay.
at the top of the box office, which would be the first time for A24. It's divisive, I think. It's not like a slam dunk, everybody loves it.
No.
But I think some people really loves it and some people are just underwhelmed. And I think a big thing is, like we mentioned, the marketing is a bit,
It's unclear.
it's not lying to you, but it's presenting the things in a very specific way to make you believe that the movie is about a certain thing where it's not really about that.
So there will be spoilers here too.
Yes, of course.
Right, if we want to talk about it. There's one thing though that I must say before we start. So looking at Annihilation and Civil War and even Ex Machina.
Imagining worst version of the near future.
Yes, and I would even say Civil War is, because this is happening right now.
Yeah, I think it's like he's exploring how real things of today can go very bad in a near future, because Ex Machina is looking at AI going the wrong way in like 10 years, what it could look like. Annihilation, it would be like how,
Clones.
mutation and
Yeah.
playing with genetics
Yeah.
would go the wrong way. And then Civil War would be looking at how, like a civil war or like an internal war within a country could go if it goes the wrong way. I think that's interesting. I think a lot of the issue I have with Annihilation, I have with this film.
Really?
I feel like the
sound design.
sound, the music choices
Gosh.
are very, again,
Very cheesy.
well, I get that he's going for like a contrasting where he's playing very folksy, light music over something that is very atrocious. And the contrast is interesting, but he's overusing music.
Yeah.
Too much music.
I agree.
And too in your face. It's not like, it's almost like, okay, now everything stopped. All the sound, the story, and now it's a little music video. And then we're going to see a lot of slow motion
And it brings you to
over
the
music.
next scene, like in an helicopter.
A lot of transition.
Almost.
Yeah, and it just feel like his use of music and his choice of music, I just don't like it. I still feel like some of the dialogue were cheesy. It's not as bad as Annihilation, but I felt like dialogue were not great. And this time, even though I normally like Kirsten Dunst, and I really
It's not
like
Fred Durst.
Oh, Dunst. The daughter of Fred Durst. Kirsten Dunst. Kirsten Dunst. Dunst?
Yeah, it's
Dunst. Kirsten Dunst.
she's
The-
German.
I
You didn't love her performance?
First, I love the way, like, her visual performance. She looked
Tired.
tired. Like, she
Yes.
never slept in her life. And I love that. It was almost refreshing how real the way she looked.
I agree. No makeup, raw, like she's
I feel like sometimes
Yeah.
you'll have like Natalie Portman in Annihilation. She looked like her makeup was just done every time.
yeah.
And it's like, I get it, but at the same time, she's in almost a jungle, like forest, and
Yeah,
she's
it's less relatable.
yeah. And her from the get go,
Yeah.
she looked tired. She looked like she need a couple days of sleep, and I love that. I like the look. I like the physical performance, but I felt like the actual performance was a bit under what it needed to be to sell me on it. And I feel like it's the same thing for everyone. The guy, Wagner, Moura, I don't think I've seen him in
Joe or
anything.
Yeah, that's Joe.
I don't think I've
Yeah,
seen
me
him in
neither.
anything.
Yeah.
Elysium, The Gray Man, just a bunch of movies I haven't seen. I like him overall, but there's key moments that if it was a slightly more effective actor, it would have really sold it to me. I had really a hard time to connect with them.
Me too.
And
With
you could
him
tell.
specifically.
Yeah,
Because the old man,
a lot better.
he played in Dune, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when he drives that van on him, I was like, thank God.
But yeah, I think and the younger girl that played Jessie who's the girl that played Priscilla.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Cailee. Cailee Spaeny.
I really don't love her. I don't love her in Priscilla.
Yeah,
I don't love her in Civil War.
But I think it's the same thing, right? Very under-delivered.
Yes.
Subdued.
I don't know, that she's living like really, really traumatic moments, and it's as if she has almost no emotion. I don't know.
Yeah, in both film, I feel like it's just maybe the character needed to be a bit more like jaded, pull back. But I feel like there's a level of like depth that is missing in the very small things that you can sell a performance with when your character is supposed to be a bit more pull back.
Yeah.
Because I think she's in shock a lot of this film.
Yeah, clearly.
But it doesn't mean that you don't have any emotion because you're shocked. You're not just frozen. Mm-hmm. It felt a bit stiff.
I agree. I had expectations that there was going to be more explanation about the Civil War.
Yeah.
Like how it started, explaining the alliances that's been formed, what's going on. And there are almost no explanation. And this movie is not taking sides. It's like the war with no face and the repercussion on people, humans.
Yeah.
And journalists trying to photograph those terrible moments and coping with the trauma,
the violence,
like
having to detach yourself from it to be able to do your job.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we slightly disagree on. I didn't need more explanation. Like, to me, okay, you have two people fighting. It doesn't really matter why we're fighting as long as the focus is not the fight, but it's the repercussion of the fight, and you're following very specific people going through that moment. Then the story is not about the fight. It's about the people, right? And I think that one thing that Alex Garland didn't want to do is use, I think, maybe a real conflict to not have people taking side.
Yeah.
Because once you take side, violence from
justified.
Your side to the other side feel justified.
Right.
Which means that you don't see it as a bad thing anymore. You see it as a needed thing.
Mm-hmm.
By not having side, every single thing of violence is something that can hit you. And you cannot justify or frame it in a way that makes it okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's what also a war journalist has to do, because it's a job. They can't just say, well, I don't want to take this picture because it's coming from the side that I don't like, right? So that's interesting. But as long as the film is not about the war, but about a story within that war, that's fine. If we're going to focus on the war at a bigger scale at the end for the last 30 minutes, then we need more context.
So to me, the last 30 minutes is we see Kirsten Dunst not being able to take any photos, move forward, being completely traumatized, in shock since the death of Sammy. And on the other hand, we see the younger girl, Jessie, pushing forward, taking photos, risking her life, and really getting into it, and feeling alive. So that was interesting. And at the very end,
I don't think we should spoil the very, very end, though.
No?
Yeah. We can talk about the movie at length.
But it's so important.
Yeah, but I think that's one thing that I think we shouldn't spoil.
Okay.
It's like that one specific moment. But I think at the very end...
But to me, though, the ending kind of illustrates the fact that even them trying to, stay human and sensitive, at the end of the day, everything's based on that shot, money shot.
Yeah, I think the point on the war photography works for me. And I think that's the interesting part of the film, where you need to detach yourself from war so you don't let yourself get affected too much and you can remain human. With Sammy dying, I think Kirsten Dunst's character, she has a picture of him once he's dead, and she deletes the picture, which to me is a clear decision that humans are more important than the shot. And that's the thing that Jessie at the beginning in the car was saying, why didn't we tell those guys not to kill them, blah, blah, blah. And then Lee's character says,
That's not the job.
That's not the job, and it doesn't matter what you would have said. They would have probably done it anyway. And like it's like you have to stop thinking about the if and if you don't detach yourself. But she's reached a point where she can't do that, and deleting the picture for me is like saying the shot is not worth the casualty.
But it's funny because their roles are kind of being inversed. So Lee is influenced by the naive and pure
Jesse.
Yeah, and then Jesse becomes tougher and more like Lee.
And it's like where they are in their career. It's almost like they decide to like, one of them has to commit. One of them is like, I'm done with it in a way.
Yeah,
but
that was interesting.
But I think like the finale is basically saying that, like, to me, it's a clear, like, this whole distancing yourself from war is not working because you're forgetting the humanity into it. And that's what the ending says to me. It's like, you've now forgotten humanity. Or you've passed the point where you think you were detaching yourself just for work, but you're detaching yourself from being a human at this point. They take picture of people that they don't know
and
getting
that are
killed.
Literally dying.
But when people they know are dying, it feels like the point where now it's in their life. So they shouldn't be taking pictures.
Sammy is a good example. Yeah.
They should be. And I think Lee just learned that. That's why she delayed the picture. She's like, this is not just a war anymore. This is now personal, and this is where the line cannot be crossed, or I'm not human anymore. Yeah,
and realizes that the photos that she was taking of other men or women are also a dad, a mom, a sister, a brother, a friend.
Yeah, but I think the other two characters at the end basically say that they haven't learned that, and they push forward. Yeah. With what happened, it doesn't matter. They've passed a point where they lost their humanity because they've seen too much, right? A body is just another body, regardless of who that body is from. Yeah. And that's what's interesting. But again, the last 30 minutes is a war movie. It's an action film. I just didn't feel like it served the story properly.
One thing to me that's really interesting, though, is this civil war is happening in some places in the world, could happen here, and how it affects everyone.
That's why I think it works not to take side, I guess. And I guess the message work. But I still think that as a film, there's some flaws that doesn't lend this message. And something that you mentioned as well is that the film feel like a bunch of scenes, just a bunch of like, okay, well, we have this scene with Jesse Plemons, and we have this scene with the Wonderland thing.
So
and we have this scene, make them drive. And then we'll just get them to drive in between. It's like a drive, we stop for a scene, then we drive, and we stop. It feels almost like, duct tape this film together. We have a bunch of scene, and truly you could put them almost in any order, and feels a bit disjointed at time. Also,
the one scene where their friends is following them in the van, and it's kind of a prank on them, and then they both like switch cars, and then they drive faster, and then there's a scene with Jesse Plemons. I'm like, God, this is kind of weird. Who would do that in a Civil War time on the road just to be funny? I don't know.
Maybe they were trying to like illustrate that being the press, you have this assumed kind of protection.
Yes, that's true.
Because in the Plemons scenes, they came to say like, look, we are press. And he's the one that is like, I don't care. Everybody else have a duty to somewhat protect and try to like, they wouldn't attack press.
Exactly.
And I think they were living under this assumed protection where they felt not invisible, but they felt like untouchable a little bit. And because of that, I think they were taking risk that they shouldn't. And that's how they pay the price. I think that's showing us like, you can't go too far. Like maybe it's a little bit of a comment where you might feel like it can't happen to you because you have this protection. But this protection can only go as far as the other person's willingness to disregard it.
Oh, yeah, completely. And that scene when he asks, where are you from? Every person in front of him,
from the trailer,
where are you from? And that moment where the guy from China says that he's from China and he automatically kills him. To me, that was really, really hard to watch, super sad, and really true about racism in our society. But
I don't know if he would have killed, because even when he says, "Oh, we're American," he said, "But what kind of American?"
Yeah. So I think he's a crazy person. He's racist.
But that's racist. But what I mean is, I don't think it's
because it was China. It's just because it was.
But he could have killed if you said, "Oh, I'm from California. He might have killed them.
Oh,
still.
yeah.
So I don't know
yeah.
if it's based on the fact. I think it's anybody that is not American.
Yeah, exactly.
And depending on which type of American,
Yes.
based on that alternative universe.
Yeah, but it's because he said, "Oh, he's your coworker."
Yeah.
He didn't even answer. He didn't know where he was from, so he
Yeah,
just
yeah.
killed him. I think it's the
But I
fear
think he
of
was
the
trying
other.
to scare them, like
Oh.
show them, like, I'm not your friend. I'm not. I don't care your press.
Yeah.
So now let's start talking.
Where are you going? What are you doing?
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
first kill seems like a warning shot. Like, this is how far I'm willing to go.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, but I feel like all of them would have died if
if
Sammy would have not come in.
Yeah,
like,
I
I don't
think
think he
so
was. I don't think he cared that they were actually American or not.
no, because we can see the pile of dead people
Yeah.
behind that he killed. So clearly he's.
Yeah, he's just
crazy
off the.
person.
Yeah, he's just off.
It's hard, right? It's tough to kind of wrap my head around.
It's even hard to know who would be. Let's say someone is like, I really like action films. Should I go see this film? I would say no. And someone say like, I really like a character study and like an interesting subject.
Oh no.
And I would say no. Well, I mean, like, you have a part of it, like the subject of war photography and the effect of it and focusing on the character. It is that for like 30% of it. And then the other 30% is an action movie. And the other 30% is a non-political politic conflict. And then the other, whatever, 10% is like people driving car through music in slow motion.
Yeah.
It's confused in tone. It is very good at building tension, but I was expecting to be more tense. Like,
More tense.
for me, I had a hard time connecting with the character. Even the really painful moment that you go through where, Wagner, the actor Wagner, is like screaming out of his lung from pain. It didn't register for me. It was
No, me
almost silly the way it looked. Like, I didn't feel anything except being tense by like, are they going to survive or not? Which I think was well done. Like, you don't feel the entire film that anyone is safe. Anyone could die. At some moment, I was like, I think they're going to kill this character. I think they're going to kill this character. I felt like nobody was safe. So that's good.
But when they stop in that small town and everything is open, people are just watering their grass, walking their dogs, and they go into a clothing shop and Kirsten tries on a dress. And you can tell that it's been so long. It's not about to dress, but it's about getting dressed, maybe to go to
Like
dinner,
normalcy.
meeting friends. Yeah, what we're used to. I kind of liked that very quick moment of also Joe saying, "Are you not," speaking to the employee, "Are you not aware that there's a civil war?" And it's like, oh, we're trying to stay out of this. That was interesting to me because I feel that there will always be people living in denial of something that is
Yeah.
fire around you. The whole world is crumbling. Anyway, yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, they say like, oh, we don't want to get into it and look at the news. I don't see why we would. But at the same time, they have sniper on the top of the building.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like this odd, like, we want to ignore it, but we also are ready to actually act on it if needed.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's this weird rejection that comes with, we will do what we need to do.
Right.
It's almost worse than like taking part in a way, where like you're taking yourself out of the atrocity to like keep your ends clean, but you're like right there with still have the hands on the trigger in a way.
But it's not even keeping your hands clean. It's just keeping your peace as if nothing is happening,
But I think because it's a civil war, it means that it's your own country's at war with itself. I don't think you can not like take your own peace. Like, your own country is dying. Like, it should be like
they're living in denial.
Yeah,
pretending
exactly.
as if nothing is happening. I didn't hate the movie. There's parts of it that I liked, and I think it's an interesting idea, but I don't know. I don't think I would rewatch it. And it was disjointed. The music, it's trying to do so much at the same time.
That's the biggest thing for me. I like the
Trying to
subject,
do too much, yeah.
but I feel it's been ruined by trying to deliver a spectacle. Like, the movie
Okay.
itself wants to be a big action film,
Yeah.
but also want to be this
Deep,
intricate,
yeah.
deep reflection on violence.
Psychological effect on
But
human beings. Yeah.
you have this potential of the story, which I think I really love. Let's look at violence through war photography.
Yeah.
Really cool. Never seen this before, or at least like not done
Not
well, or
much,
I
yeah.
haven't heard of it. But then it's also want to be an action film. So it's like it ruins itself because of the spectacle of an action film, explosion and big set pieces, and like forgetting the character for the entertainment.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what it's trying to balance, and it didn't do it well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have to agree.
What's your
Gosh.
score out of 5?
Am I going to burn it or save it?
I think I'm gonna burn it.
Yeah, me too.
I wouldn't rewatch it.
Me
not
neither.
interested.
I think I'll give it a 3.
I think for me it's a 3. I'm actually almost considering a 2.5.
Yeah. No, I'll give it a 3.
It's a 2.5 or a 3 for me. It's very
Yeah.
much like, it's not bad, but it's I don't know if I would consider it good. There's good thing, but for every good thing there's something that I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
And I think the music and the structure of the film itself
Yeah.
is the biggest deterrent for this film being
I agree with you.
good.
The structure of the film. It's literally scene, drive,
Drive,
something
scene.
happens.
I wanted this to be, I didn't think it would be a 5 out of 5. I thought it would be like a 4, a solid 4. That's what I
Yeah.
wanted out of it.
Oh boy.
Awesome,
okay.
guys. That's it
for
for Civil War
watching.
and Annihilation and Alex Garland.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for
to us.
watching. Subscribe, like us, find us everywhere.
Have a great day.
Yes, lots of good film coming up. Subscribe, follow us. Have a good one.
Bye.
Healthy.